Good afternoon, David, and thank you for joining us on this interview. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of the interview, could you introduce yourself by name and tell us a little bit about yourself prior to becoming a full-time business coach?
Sure. I am Dave Beam, and before I became a business coach with Action Coach, I was an environmental project manager. So I have a chemistry background, which is a little odd, and there's a long story about how that transition happened, but basically, I'd done some counseling in my church, so I was familiar with interaction with people. And then I'd done a lot of business work as a small business consultant for a consulting firm in environmental science.
So and when you went to college, what did you major in? Was it chemistry?
Yes.
Chemistry, really. Excellent. And I know you're in Ohio. Did you go to an Ohio university?
University of Kentucky, Tony, and my dad kicked for Bear Bryant for the UK Wildcats, and they're from Lexington, Kentucky. So I went back to Lexington. I lived in Southern Ohio most of my life, but went back there to school.
Excellent. And most people listening don't equate Bear Bryant with Kentucky, do they?
Well, he's an Alabama guy, but he was in Kentucky for several years. So.
Before Alabama, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
That's correct.
Excellent. So what drew you to Action Coach?
It was interesting. The job I was with as an environmental project manager, consulting position, I had the P&L responsibilities for a small office. That company was going away from consulting and into construction. And if you talk to my wife, what you'll find out is anything to do with construction and heavy equipment is a disaster. So basically, it was a good move for the company, not a good move for me. I'm in a fairly depressed area of the country, so employment here is not abundant. So I put my resume out on Monster and just thought by a long shot maybe there would be some kind of job that would relate to my background in the area. And Action Coach, at the time was Action International, they contacted me and said, you'd be a great business coach. That's how I've never heard of business coaching. It sounded a little spooky to me. So that's how it all started. They actually contacted me and got very interested, went to the website, found out the cost of the franchise, got a little panicky, didn't have enough money, and through a number of negotiations and a lot of work that was back in the earlier days of Action Coach, was able to get started.
Excellent. Now, why, I know Action Coach contacted you, but once you started doing some research about Action Coach, did you look at any other options of coaching organizations or just dug into Action Coach?
I didn't know what business coaching was or coaching in this kind of arena at all. So I really didn't know to look anywhere else. I guess I could have. Had a couple of opportunities to go into my own business and do some more consulting, but the draw to coaching, I saw a skill set, I saw a need, I saw a way to help people and a way to really use the different backgrounds, the different skill sets I had to really help people in a significant way. The values and the core values of the company caught my attention right off the bat. The master licensee I was working with, Craig Homberger, was the real deal. We had a real good connection right off the bat. And other than the cost to get in at the time, it was just, I'd never been in my own business. I had worked for a company that that office did about $1.5 million in revenue annually. I grew that from out of my base of my house into that kind of a business. So I was used to being in a business about that size, but never been in business myself. But I just felt a real call and a real passion to want to help people in a significant way. And my wife, who's more conservative than me, looked at all the parameters and said, this defines you. I think you could do well with it.
Excellent. Now, it's interesting. I'm going to ask a question that I haven't asked anybody else.
Oh, boy.
So you're the first here. You're the first, but it's something you said. So, 14 years ago, you're in a depressed market, a small market, depressed market. And then you go into business as a coach in a market that that is depressed. How do you go out and get business?
That is a most interesting question. I do commute to a lot of my clients. I work more in a radius in a tri-state area. I'm here in Southern Ohio, but Kentucky, West Virginia, and Ohio are right here together. So I travel to some of my clients. They're certainly not all here in the little town of Wheelersburg or Portsmouth, Ohio. So that's one way is I'm working more in a region. Secondly, a lot of people, including the bankers that I went to try to get a loan, said, "You're going to try to do what, where? This just doesn't make sense."
Mm.
But I have found that it's just the way you look at it. The competition here is nil. I think I've run into 2 more coaches in 14 years, so that's interesting in this area working. So there's in a 50-mile radius, there's plenty of business for me.
Excellent. How many client accounts do you typically work with at one time?
Right now, I have about 16 active accounts, and that's varied everywhere. Of course, from the beginning, from a few, but I probably average between 12 and 16. And I also work with some larger companies in the area, and larger companies for us would be 200 to 700 people, that size.
Mm.
Leadership training and development with some of the Action Coach material. And when you've been an Action Coach for a while, you kind of incorporate other materials like the DISC materials. We really are readers and we're learners. So been able to take this wonderful toolkit from Action Coach and also add some other things with it and kind of make it's a franchise, but I still have my own flavor, I guess, of the business here, and have made it work. And that's one thing I love about Action Coach is they're very open to, once you get your feet set and you get a business started, that you can really branch out and become an innovator and innovate new products and services for the franchise and for yourself. So I've always told people Action Coach is like a great toolbox, and you can take that and kind of build your own business. So even though I'm in a franchise and I get the support of my master licensees and the culture, I also have the freedom to have my own business. And I do work out of my home. I work on my own. My wife does my books. And I just have a wonderful lifestyle business. That's the situation.
That's great. You mentioned that you do a leadership workshop. So do you do workshops? I'm sure you do more than leadership, and we'll get into that. But do you do workshops primarily or solely for your clients, or do you also do workshops publicly to possibly generate some leads for new coaching clients?
Again, another interesting question. The Leadership Academy is something I actually created with a client, and we take 12 individuals through a year-long program on a monthly basis. So that's kind of a solid thing that I've kind of created with them using Action Coach materials and other things. Then I do a free give back to the community 1 hour of power every month in 3 different states, 3 different chamber of commerces. They sponsor it, they market it. They bring the people in, and I show up for an hour and do a real transformational topic. It's not an information download for those 1 hour things. We're really trying to touch people's hearts and really get them thinking and excited and interested in growing, either as a business or even as a person, as an individual. And we've had great turnouts, 20, 30, 40 people at times. And,
wow, good.
And the chambers love it because they get credit for having an active thing going on, and I love it because they do all the footwork and marketing.
Exactly. So give me a little idea of what some of the topics might be on these transformational 1 hour programs that you do.
World-class customer service is one that we do. So we do some business topics, and a lot of that comes from the Action Coach material as well. Some of it does not. But we also like to do personal issues, and I'm going to use the buzzwords that people use, although we debunk the buzzwords for like time management. We say there really is no such thing, but you came and tried, you want something about that. Well, you can't manage time. It's really priority management and it's self-management. So a lot of personal growth, how to learn, for example, to look at life. Life brings you a lot of things that you call problems, and they can also be looked at as challenges, and they can be looked at as opportunities. And by shifting your perspective your performance and what happens can actually change. And so I'm finding that more and more I'm getting kind of a variety of people at these workshops, not just business people, but people that want to see excellence. And I'm in a very depressed area, economically depressed. So in this kind of maturing business I have here, because I have a great cash flow and a great, I make good money really in the business, I'm able to go out and do a lot of free things with the chambers and really get back to the community. That's another great thing about this business is I'm really making a difference.
Mm.
We work with the Rotary Club and raise $14,000 for a charity. And again, I get to show up and speak, and they all think I'm wonderful, and that's all I did. They marketed it. It's a Rotary event. The Rotary people are the ones bringing the people in, and I just get to come and be a little bit inspirational, hopefully, and help people think differently. So.
Right. And even though you're giving these programs and you're donating it and it's being given out of altruism, let's say,
True.
to do good, I believe, I very much believe in what goes around comes around, sort of like karma, that even though you do this for free, even though you do this out of love, even though you're doing this to give back, something does come back to you, doesn't it?
Seems that's true. I'm doing really well.
Yeah.
I have a great business and a great life, and I get to get up and do what I love every day. So how many people can say that? And it comes back. It's not always a direct reciprocity. It doesn't always come directly back from what I'm doing or even the people in that event. But when you do this for 14 years and that's your spirit, and there's smaller communities, you get known. I kind of brand Action Coach, but you also get branded as a person. There's somebody that can help you. So
absolutely.
And so all of that creates a buzz. And the clients that pay me well, these other things I'm doing, I just tell them they're participants. I said, you pay me well to do this coaching because you're able to. We help you prosper your business. And out of that, through me, you're also helping the community. So they'll come and attend some of the events and talk about it. And it's just a great win-win all the way around. Absolutely. And I know I'm going to mention this, Tony. I'm not allowed to do this, but you are one of the biggest givers as far as a vendor for Action Coach that I've ever seen. You give away more disc stuff and more information, and it keeps coming year after year after year. I've seen a few over the years with Action Coach kind of come and go. You've come and stayed. I don't know what's going on, but there's a story there, I'm sure.
Well, you know what? I really believe I have a very similar philosophy as you do. Again, remember, what goes around comes around. So, I give a lot away for free, both in materials and time. But again, I've come from a business myself as a keynote speaker for almost 40 years, where I did make a lot of money, so I can afford to give things away for free, just like you do.
That's the story, isn't it? And
yeah.
I look at it this way: you start off in survival in business,
right?
And you're on a raft, and you're trying to keep your head above water, and then you work hard, and you're entrepreneurial, and you stick with it. And you get to a level of success, and I call it the motorboat. I mean, you're putting out in the water, but you can burn out. You get to be our age, you're around for a while, then you want to get to that significance where you're on a sailboat, and you're really having to be better at it, but it's a little more relaxing.
That's right.
I really enjoy it a whole lot more now because you have to kind of get out and see what's going on. You're not just driven to get to that place of success. There's something beyond that. And I will say that about Action Coach, or the coaching industry in general. There's an opportunity to get to that level of fulfillment and actualization where you really feel that you're doing something that's making a real difference. So that's another great thing about this business.
Tell me, you've been in the business now 14 years. You've rubbed shoulders with hundreds of action coaches over the years, some of the greats like you. So what would you say? Knowing all these people for all these years, tell me what you think are the 2 or 3 key traits that that makes a great coach? 2 or 3 key traits.
A listener would be one. Curious person would be the second. And I think the third is someone who cares deeply. And I think those all 3 are connected. But someone who cares deeply, that listens well, and is very curious.
Right. Asks the right questions, obviously listens to the answers, and is there to help.
Very pleasant.
And as you help people, I was talking to another coach and trying to think what he said about that. Something about, he said his first key goal is to help people, not to make money, but to help people. And the better he is at helping people, the money does follow, as opposed to just going after the money.
Now, I have one distinction I like to throw in on that, because I think it's absolutely service, that money is just an indication of service.
Right.
But not in the coaching world, not pleasing. My goal is not to make please my customer at all. My customer is often not pleased in seasons with me at all. And if I'm truly serving, I'm not always pleasing them. They pay me to create some discomfort and some challenge in their life, because they want somebody to believe that they can be better.
Right.
So a little bit oddity about this business is, when you're truly serving as a great coach, you're willing to make people uncomfortable and be uncomfortable yourself. And that's, I think that maybe is another, I gave you 4, but that's probably a 4th characteristic of a great coach. Your comfort is not my goal. Getting you to your potential and your dream and your desire and your outcome is my goal.
Right. Now you've had coaching clients, obviously, for years, but you've also lost a few coaching clients along the way. Now, why would a client typically stop doing business with a business coach?
Well, some of them I just screwed up early on, and was learning that I'm not a fit for everyone. And I don't think I gave one person his money back, because I just said, and that's another story, but I just said, this isn't working. Would you agree? And I think he was glad to get it. He was
right.
And I was glad to give it, because that was my second client. So I think sometimes it's just not a fit, and I messed up is one reason people leave. It just doesn't work. Sometimes folks come to where they want to be, and we're done here. In terms of the coaching, they've really achieved what they want to achieve, and I've helped them get there, and it's great. So for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. I have one of my very first clients, going on 11 years now, still with me. So you have people that stay. I'm doing this leadership academy with this company that really was very connected to the coal industry, and they're going through some financial strains, but they said, we can't afford you anymore, but we can't afford not to have you. We're doing another leadership class this year. So I think it's very much to what you're talking about, the value. If the value continues to be there, they continue to pay and keep you. If
right.
the value changes because they change, their situation changes. I've coached a couple of people out of business. The most important, they came to a realization that the best thing they can do is shut it down. Well, once the business was shut down and they got a job, I was no longer doing business coaching.
Right, right.
And they were very grateful for that. It was because that reality that this endeavor that I'm in, doing it this way, is not going to work, and I don't want to change it, and I really want a job. That's not, small business isn't for everybody.
Yeah, well, what you do, you're there to help people, and sometimes helping them means you not having them as a client anymore for a variety of reasons. But that's a
It goes back to the same philosophy of the reciprocity in what you give. I want to treat people the way I want to be treated. And in fact, as you mature in this business, you even get better in the enrollment. People almost have to sell me now that I need to be their coach. It's a process where until I'm excited about working with them and they're excited about working with me, and we both have some vision and belief and solid reasons for that belief that we can get to that place they want to go to, or close to it, or at least go that direction successfully, it's a no. We don't get started until we both have that confidence. And that confidence comes from a vision and from knowing. It's not hoopla and sales tactics. It's we have to really see it. And I have to see it. And I'll tell them, they want to get started. I'll say, no, wait a minute. What about this? I actually create objections in the sales process. It's like that. Well, you sure you really are ready for this? And they almost have to hit me over the head and say, take the stupid money out. Let's do this. But okay. That always is great, you know.
Yeah. I just, again, this is coming full circle. We're going to have to kind of end this here, but full circle. Going back to my one of my initial questions, and that was, how could you survive, let alone thrive, in an economically depressed area that has not a lot of people? And of course, one of your answers was you expanded your range of your territory, and there's one of the upsides of that is that there really is not much competition for you, which is great. You've gotten now to the point in this area where you can actually get to the point where your clients have to sell you on taking them on. I really, it's amazing.
I pinch myself, and I would be amiss if I didn't add this at the end. People say, Dave, how in the world do you do this? And I said, there's really only one answer. I have a creator that I know, and he had a purpose here. And I do feel like I'm fulfilling a calling, and I kind of do what I'm supposed to do, and he takes care of all that. And every day I'm touching, I tell you my goal. Let me give you my goal. Coaches got to have goals, and I maybe end on this. My goal is a daily goal. Every day I want to significantly make a difference in 3 people's lives. That's it. If I do that, everything else works out.
Yep.
And if it's a daily focus on value, whether that person's paying me today or not paying me today, it all works out, and it works out really well. I mean, just very, very blessed. When you live in a depressed area and you make the income I make from Action Coach, I'm one of the best paid people in the area.
That is good. Well, listen, I think our viewers have gotten a very interesting perspective, different than some of the other interviews. I always like to have interviews that are. I don't want the same interview every single time.
Same questions.
Yeah, no, so I'm playing off of some of the stuff you're saying, some of the stuff I'm listening to, right?
Like a good coach. Yeah.
That's right. So. I really think that we learned some very interesting things here. I want to thank you for joining us today. And hopefully sometime in the near future, I will see you at one of the big Action Coach meetings. And if I'm there and you're there, come on up and pat me on the back, or, kick me or something. Just say hi, okay?
I will do so. You need to do the same. So.
Will do. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.